As a Duke oncologist, Dr. Neil Spector was saving the lives of cancer patients. His own body was shutting down, though. That's because Spector was suffering from an undiagnosed case of Lyme disease.
And when he showed up for a routine pacemaker checkup, he was told that he needed a heart transplant immediately.
Now, luckily for Spector,
he was found, a donor was found, and he has been living his life ever since. Thank you so much, Dr. Spector, for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for having
me. So you focused your whole life on coming up with cancer research drugs for individuals to save their life, and then you have Lyme's disease, didn't even know it, right? What were your symptoms?
So my symptoms initially were primarily heart manifestations, so a little atypical. I started having palpitations. I had an episode of brain fog, which I describe as if you were taking 50 Benadryl a day. So I once gave a lecture, spent an hour talking about our research, walked out. Somebody said that was fascinating. I had no recollection of what I had just spent an hour talking about.
So you expressed frustration trying to explain this to a doctor who said you're fine, and you're saying to yourself, I'm not fine.
That's right. So I was told that I was stressed because no one was thinking about Lyme disease. I didn't have the typical rash, which many people, in fact, a fair amount do not have the typical rash. I didn't remember being bitten by a tick. And so blood test after blood test, not the Lyme disease tests, were normal. And so I was told there's nothing wrong with you.
So how did you find out?
So I finally developed arthritis 4 years into the course. I was given doxycycline, which is the antibiotic, one of the drugs of choice for Lyme disease, for a completely independent reason. And within 24 hours, the arthritis resolved. I also at that time had what's called third-degree heart block, meaning the electrical system in my heart shut down and I had a heart rate of about 40 and needed a pacemaker. Even with all that, I was told that that can't be Lyme disease.
Right.
So you can imagine the frustration.
So you're this doctor who's transformational, saving lives, and all of a sudden you become the patient. What changed for you now as a physician after being the patient?
So I always thought I was very compassionate, but now I have a perspective from the patient side. I know what it's like to be waiting for test results, you know, sitting in a waiting room, seeing a lot of sick people around you. And I have a greater appreciation for the fact that, you know, none of us is given any guarantees on life. I mean, I used to run marathons, Boston marathons. I never smoked, I did all the right things. I got bit by a tick and was misdiagnosed and ended up with a heart transplant.
You know, back in the day, Lyme disease was something that was treatable. It wasn't as serious, but I'm hearing more and more cases like yours where it leads to major problems.
I mean, people are dying from this disease. So there's this misperception that it's no big deal. You figure it out easily, you treat it, you cure it. And thankfully, for many people, that's the case. But there's a lot of people who fall between the cracks. There are people who have chronic problems. And people who have other infections. So you get bit by a tick, you don't necessarily just get Lyme disease. So you may get 3 different infections. It's a really serious problem that's growing in incidence.
And it's all in your book, Gone in a Heartbeat. And it talks about what you went through to ultimately end up with a heart transplant.
I did. So, yeah. So I lived 11 years with 10% heart function, developing cancer drugs, coaching my daughter's soccer teams. So it's really a story also that I learned from my patients about perseverance and living your life and not being defined by a medical illness.
Well, you look great, and it was great to see you, and I'm so glad you wrote the book.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Dr. Spector, great to have you here.
All right,
I'm from the Carolinas,
Spector.
too, so he's Duke University. We're proud of you.
Thank you.
Great university.